job, job seeking, job seeking role that we play. Yeah, there's one part of it which is preparation. The other part of it is the conduct, the actual interview itself, and how do you think about it? How do you work with it? How do you work with yourself in that process? And how do you respond to various situations that happen within that framework of the interview itself? And the third part is, of course, the futuristic part. Once you're done with it, done with the interview, how do you actually keep a door open where you can have a good follow-up, where you can actually see how you can keep a re-entry possible? Because in real life, we have seen that many times we apply for something, and then at that time, that particular organization may not be the right fit, right, for the candidate or for the organization. But then suddenly, a couple of years later, you seem to be the right fit because either the organization has grown, or you have changed, or something has changed. So keeping a door open is also a very good idea, because how do you leave the interview is also a very important part. And I will have some tips around that aspect. So let's say we begin with, how do you prepare for an interview? Let's start with that. For me, a very important part, when I come from the other side of the table, so to say, is how much are you interested? The first larger picture is the external world. Yeah. Can we understand more about the organization that we are going to interview for? Yeah, it's a very important part, because what are the basics data of this organization? They say never ask a woman her age. Similarly, never ask an organization. You go and sit there and say, oh, guess what? I actually don't know your profitability, and I don't know really whether you're, doing a good, employee value proposition. And I really don't know what values you stand for, or what's your vision or your strategy. It's really sad when a candidate appears not knowing many of these things, or not having read up. Say 30 years ago, it was possible because there was nothing on the web. There was nothing, to suggest what this organization is all about. You had to ask people, you had to find sources. The research was difficult. Today, we have no excuse. There is Google, and most organizations are pretty transparent. There is Glassdoor, and I know many of us go to each and every place to find out what this organization is all about. But sometimes we may forget to do that. So I'm just kind of revisiting the basics and saying, read up about the organization, not only through Glassdoor, but through the organization's vision, mission, values, strategies, goals. What is this organization all about? How do these people create value in this world? What are some of the things that they're already doing? And what are some of the things that are already written about this organization? It's a very important part. Who is the founder of this organization? What are the dreams of this founder? What is the vision? Sometimes this is important because I link it to the internal part. This is all the external part. The second part about the external thing, which is external of us, is the larger picture is the organization. Then comes the job description as such. In this world of Naukri and Monster, what we do is we just try and put out everything that we know. Probably we know one sentence about that. We know one little thing about what we have. Probably we just heard the word and said, okay, I also know this, or I also dabble in this, and we just put it out in our CV. Naukri, Monster, AI, they just pick up stuff that we have written and then put you onto a job, and then you go and apply. What happens is, when they actually ask you questions, you are really stumbling because you don't have the actual thing that you have written in your CV doesn't match with your knowledge. And people sitting on the other side can, within a couple of sentences, know that you really are not prepared for this. So understanding the job description, the role requirement, and seeing whether you are a good fit is very critical from your own point of view, so that you don't come across as somebody who's applying for something where you're completely unprepared. So how to prepare for an interview has two external elements. One is the organization, the vision, mission, value, strategy, goals of the organization, the founder, all the paraphernalia surrounding the organization. And the second part is understanding the exact role, the job description, and what is this organization looking for in this particular role, so that I can prepare myself accordingly. This is the first external part of prepping. The internal part of prepping is all about you, right? So while we know that this is the larger world that I'm going to enter, I sit down, and even though I will be working in some organization, in some role or whatever currently, I kind of tune out of everything and sit down, and this I have said almost for the last 20 years, 10, 20, 30 years, that it's important to take a pause when you are jumping jobs. Mental pause, yeah? Because you don't want to do more of the same thing. You have done it, you have been there, you've done that, right? So now you want to do something else, because human beings are all about learning and growing. If you don't get to grow, if you don't get to learn, if you don't get to do something different in the next job that you're doing, within, guaranteed, any average human being will be bored within 6-8 months, because you're just repeating this last role. You may get the job because of the last role that you did, but if you're not doing something different in this role, you tend to get bored, and then you start looking out, or you start saying, yaar, kya kar sakte hain? There's nothing new here, I'm not learning anything. So learning and exposing yourself to new things is an important part of what you look out for the next change, when you look out for the next change. Yeah. So is the organization going to enable you to learn and grow? These are two fundamental things. Many people jump jobs for money. But money is an essential part. I'm not saying, we live in a very materialistic world. We need money. I agree. But if you're jumping jobs only for the money, you will realize soon that that doesn't give you that satisfaction. So learning and growing component, how will you know that? When you do some prepping, when you sit down and you say, look, I have done 3 jobs. I have learned this about the job, about myself. These are some of my strengths. These are my values. I am 30 years old, or 32 years old, or 25 years old, or 28 years old, whatever my age is. And this is something that I have done all these years. Now I want to do this, or I want to explore this part of me, or these are some of my strengths. This is not my strength. I want to explore this. Yeah. Some amount of what I call as the balance sheet of my own strengths, my own areas of development, what feedback I have received until now. Sometimes I receive feedback, but I'm not able to do much about it because my environment is not conducive. So I may receive some feedback about, a certain thing that I need to do more of. Yeah. But the current company is not giving me that environment. So I'm not able to do anything about it, but it's there in my head. Back and seek for a job opportunity which gives me a chance to practice some of this, which seems to be lacking in me. So when I put my foot out to look for a job, I must also be very, very communicative with myself first, that what do I need to do next? Yeah. Maybe I don't have. Some of us have a very smart overall vision statement for ourselves. So we know where we are going, We know that each job seems to be like a milestone in the path where we are heading to. And in 20 years down the line, I would like to be here. And so I kind of meander through the path, picking up, valuable experiences and all that. Well, that's about 5% of the population. 95% of us are finding our way through. Through all this meandering called life, we find our way. We say, okay, I think I'm getting this. Yeah, but I know this I'm not doing well. Let me try this. These are some of the thoughts that are going on in our mind. We are not all sorted. We don't come all sorted. So it's okay for us to make those mistakes. It's okay for us to register those feedbacks. And it's okay for us to write down some of the non-negotiable values that we have. If it's going to be a no-no from day one, why at all enter that zone is my question. Why at all go for that interview? If you think that these values of this company, organization, and my personal values are not going to match, then I would be smart not to go and put myself through the torture of that interview. So let's not even go where we think that we are totally unsuited. And by this, I'm not meaning that, draw a boundary and become very fixated, but also understand some of these are basic strengths that we have and basic values that we have. We may not be able to break out of those. So what are those? What is something non-negotiable? Yeah. I couldn't. In my own personal life, I just can't work in an atmosphere where there is something happening behind me. There's no transparency, there's bribes, there's an atmosphere of fear. I can't do my best. I'm very clear about it, and I'm so outspoken. I've been like this all through my life. But that doesn't mean that I will choose an opportunity and then go and struggle in that opportunity and say, oh my God, what the hell? No, I've landed myself in a soup. Not that in all my life I've not done that. I've done that too. But then I had the courage to also get out of it as quickly as possible, because I know that I'm not fitting in here. But it's not because of lack of homework. 80% of homework you must do, but even that other 20%, sometimes after doing all the homework, you may land up in something which you may not like. That's fine. But you can't be 0% on the homework, right? So who I am and what I want to do and what I want to offer to this world is a very important question that we must ask ourselves. And once we are clear about that, believe me, it's not just a saying. What you put out in the world, the universe will actually attract you to it. So if you truly put yourself out there and say, this is really what I want to explore, the universe has its way of working itself out and offering you some opportunity around that. And this is truth. I have experienced it, so it is a truth. Okay. And the third thing in prepping for an interview, which is internal, is how did you overcome some of your toughest moments in life? What are some of the things that you have done till now to be able to overcome difficulties? I would suggest that everyone sits and writes about this, because before you apply for an interview, you should yourself know how you stumbled your way through difficulties, problems, situations. Because these are some things where, when you speak in an interview, you speak with conviction if you know your story well. If you don't know your story and if you are fumbling about how, I don't know, but actually, you know what, I faced this situation. So sort yourself out. Before you speak to somebody else, take a pause and think, okay, these are some of the things that I have gone through. This is my way of coming out of certain issues, certain problems, certain situations. This is how I deal with things. You must have a way of how you deal with problems. Many times in an interview, we can't make out who this person is or how this person is going to gel with the existing team. We don't know all these things. But we are looking for answers from this person that given a situation, how is this person going to react? How is this person going to respond? And so if I get data around that, even while the interview is happening, I'm quite happy to make a note of it and say, you know what, this person, given a situation, given some of the issues that are there in our organization, this guy or this lady will come here and be able to manage and meander through the situation. So the long and short of it is, when you're preparing for an interview, you must sort yourself out. Sit down and look at what you have till today. What are some of the experiences you have? What are some of the strengths that you have? What are some of the values and non-negotiable things that you think you are carrying with you? And what is some of the feedback that you have received and how you have acted upon that and how you have acted upon in certain situations in your life. This is a part of your preparation for any interview. And I would say, andar jhaak ke dekho, in Hindi, you say look inside and look outside, both. Yeah. So that this is an important part of prepping. Now let's say the third part, yeah, which is how do you prepare for that process itself, yeah, the actual process of interviewing. Again, couple of things might sound very basic and cliche, but I always say this because it's important, and very important, especially when it's virtual. Yeah, the package means nothing, but it is important. Yeah, what you wear, how you dress up, it sounds extremely basic, but it is important that you wear some, when we were taught coaching, those days online coaching or phone coaching and all was not famous. I did this about 20 years ago. So we did our first assignment online, where we had to take telephonic coaching, was some 17, 18 years ago, where even mobiles were a little technologically not so great. Yeah. So I was working for CCL Asia Pacific, and we had some coaches from China, Taiwan, So there was a language issue as well. We had to talk very slowly in English. We had to make sure that we communicate properly. All that was there. But one of the things that our mentor coaches told us, it still remains with me. They said, if you're going to do telephonic coaching, the first thing that you must do is dress up as if you're going for an actual coaching, face-to-face coaching. Dress up the part, even though you're not going to be seen by the other person. Choose a space which is extremely official, and similarly, like, a kind of a space where you would put the coachee in front of you in a comfortable space. Choose a space like that in your own home where you will sit and you will be undisturbed, so that the coachee is also going to feel that. Yeah. And we did it all because it was part of SOP. So, when it's an SOP, you don't think. So you just go step by step. But it made so much sense. And it's making so much sense today when I'm doing so many virtual programs and everything. One of the things that I understand is, it's not because I have, for so many years I've done training and, coaching people. My official dress is sari. So I have worn sari every single day that I've done a program, even virtually, even though sometimes I'm not on camera. Very important for me because I feel official. It's about me. It's not about you. It's not about who's seeing me. It's about me. Yeah. And it actually plays a huge impact on my mind. My psycho-somatic processes are involved in the way I prepare myself. And this is for every human being. Yeah. Because the moment you are dressed for the part, you automatically switch on in a certain way. In a certain way, your mind is geared because you have been in that process, right? So many of us, because we work from home, are in very casual wear. We manage to just have some outfit. If at all, there is a video request, then, we kind of rush to kind of wear a shirt and or just make sure that it's a little bit semi-official or something. Don't even assume that. I'm saying even if the video is not going to be on at all, just make sure you dress the part, because that will add a lot of processes, unconscious process to your preparation. Secondly, giving a realistic image of yourself. In an interview process, I would say a very important part is who you are. Yeah. Many times, as a coach, as an external consultant, I'm asked to talk to people. And the funny thing is, they reveal to me far more than what they will reveal to the organization. But the organization is the one that's going to see you day in and day out. It's easy to fake today in an interview. Maybe you won't even get caught. You'll kind of put up something and say that I know this, I know that, or I'll do this, I'll do that, or I'll do it in a certain way. But how many days can you be with that, with that image of yours that you have created? So instead of learning about the organization, and I do advise on the other side, I do advise to the organizations also. I say, don't do like, you recruit for heaven and put them in hell. Don't do that, right? It's not good to show the employee a very nice picture of, in our organization we do this, all that stories, and then when you enter you see, oh shit, that thing is there. Yeah, it's not good. Both ways, trust is formed when there is congruence between what you say and what you are, what you behave. Yeah. So you also don't put out any fake stuff. Let the organization also not put out any fake stuff. It is important for you to be realistic. Yeah. If you don't know, you don't know. But are you showing the ability to learn? Are you showing the ability to grow? Yeah. And if it's fundamentally something that you should be knowing, then is the organization giving you willing to give you time to prepare for it? If they have another candidate who's ready, well, so be it. Let them take him or her. Because I truly believe in another way, and I'm not being spiritual or philosophical. If it's meant for you, it's going to be there for you. And if it's meant that you're going to be there and you're going to be working there and you're going to be learning and you're going to be with the set of people, you will be there. So why fake is my question. Why to create a situation which is going to bite you in the ass later on? Don't do it, because that's something which is, you don't have to do this. I mean, to get a job, you don't have to do this, right? It's not a life and death situation. So just go ahead and be yourself. Yeah. Sometimes no, I would say most of the time, honesty is the best policy. There is no two words to it. It's good to be honest. Yeah. The other thing that people ask is, there's another adjective to honest. It's brutally honest. Yeah. It's sometimes you also need to know that a situation that you're used to is different from the situation that you're being exposed to. There are times like that. I'm used to a particular thing, but here in this particular interview on this organization, I might be exposed to completely something new, different. Am I willing to give this a chance? That is the other competence that you need. Yeah. You may not know everything. This may not be your comfort zone, but are you willing to give this a chance and see that whether, people change, the organization might be willing to give you a different look just because you have the capacity to put your thoughts in a certain way. The organization might be willing to look at it in a different way. So this brings us to the next point, which is the most important, and it has got nothing to do with interviews. It has got to do with your life. And basically, it has got to do with how you survive post the interview, right? Is communication. If you cannot communicate, I'm sorry, it's difficult. It is truly difficult, because what you feel, what you say, how you say it, it's important. How the person perceives, how you want that person. See, the difference between intention and impact. You may have lots of things in your head, but are you creating the impact that you want to? It's a very important connection. And most of the time, after the interview, when we sit back and think, say, hey, I should have said this, I should have said that, I should have said that, because we are in such a rush to answer that we think, it's the end of the world and I have to quickly, say something. No, you don't. You can just sit down, you can pause, you can think, and then you can answer. You can work it out. No situation, people think that, oh, you must immediately react. No, no, no. I mean, everybody has patience. And if you feel that the interviewer is pushing you or stressing you out or, they're also seeing your response to stress. Because maybe that situation there in their organization is extremely stressful. Maybe there are peers you're going to work with who are going to put you under stress all the time. So maybe this interviewer is playing a role to see how do you respond to stress? How do you respond to push? And you can give a good idea to the interviewer. How do you deal with it? By just pausing, relaxing, writing down notes, and then presenting a coherent view of what this interviewer is trying to ask, summarizing what you have listened to, and say that, look, you know what, I think you're saying this is what I have understood, and my response to this is. Then the person says, oh, wow, this person has a way of dealing with these kind of people. So I think this is the right guy, yeah, or this is the right person. Now, when I am going to look at it from the other side, and I'm saying this person is reacting immediately and doesn't know a thing about this, but trying to say something, I can make out, because we can't, fake this for long. The next question also, I'll push more. Yeah. And then the third question, when I push and you break down, then I know that you're not the person for the job. So why even allow that game to happen? Yeah. So these are some of the things that when you sit on the other side, many times when I've conducted interviews, I feel like say, wait, let me put you in another room, train you up a little bit, and then bring you, onto the interviewing chair, because I feel bad. I feel bad that a person has a good CV, has good, good personality, is able to communicate, but is not saying that the thing in a proper, coherent way. And I know that if I put this person exactly the way this person is in the job, they are not going to be successful. So how to set yourself up for success is a very important part. And I can share with you one anecdote which is very interesting in my own life. Yeah, I was very new at consulting. This is again about 22 years ago or so. And I was called to the German Technical Cooperation. The head was a German. I had no exposure, not much exposure to, working with people, outside of India. Maybe one or two, but not many. And I didn't have too much exposure to Germans at that time, I'm saying, now they have changed a lot. I have a German teacher who is a very different person. But this person who came directly from Germany probably 2-3 months before had absolutely no expressions on his face. So I was talking, and it was like talking to all of you with no videos on. It was just like, he had no expressions on his face. I didn't know whether I was saying the right thing or the wrong thing. In India, you have a very animated approach to interviews. So when you say something and the person likes it or doesn't like it, you can see that in their face. So you can also modify your content accordingly and smile and, all that. But this guy had absolutely no response. So this went on for a while. And then he asked me about, and this is the NGO field. So he asked me a question. He said, what is your view about the government's interface with community? Now, that was a very, very tricky question because I had very strong views about it. Okay. And I was very clear about my views. I had no clue what German Technical Cooperation was doing because they were also finding their way, and I knew the project, but I didn't know what their way of working is going to be. I was scathing in terms of my response and how the government should deal with health projects, and that they don't do their best, they don't do enough, they don't do monitoring, they have absolutely no way of accessing information. I was all over, very, very clear about my views, and I was like, I thought I did a good job. Okay, I just said exactly as I please. And at the end of the interview, he said, faintest of smiles, and he said, "Okay, Mrs. Cannan, we'll get back to you." I came out of the room, and my friend, my colleague who was sitting in the room, along with him to interview, he was the project director, assistant project director. So he's like, what did you just say? Do you know that we are actually partnering with the government to put this project out? And you were there giving everything, and you didn't even look at me. I was trying to make faces and tell you, don't say all this. And here you are going all out. And such strong views. And I even I didn't know that you had such strong views, and you put it out there. I said, look, he asked a very, very, touchy question, and I had all the answers. So I just went all out. Now, the short answer to the long story and the impact. So the next day, so I thought I had just, sealed my chance to be a consultant to this, and I came home quite happy with myself, saying I said my piece, but quite unhappy that probably I've lost the chance to work with these people. So I came home, and the next day I hear from them, and they ask me the commercials, and they want to sign up with me. So I called up my friend and said, hey, what happened? You said I'd screwed it up, and I'm not going to get this and all that. And then suddenly I hear from these guys about commercials. What happened? He said, turns out that this guy really loved your passion and energy with which you said that this government is, he said, I need a neutral person, a consultant who can call a spade in front of the government, because sometimes, because we are the funders, we may not be able to say these things. So I'm happy that she has these strong views and she can express it well. So I'm saying the long and short of it is, of course, I got that and I worked with them for the next 3 years. But the point is, are you able to communicate your strong views? You may have strong views, but if my communication would have gone as if I am biased, or as if I am going to personally attack these people, if I'm working with them, it wouldn't have landed me the assignment, is what I'm trying to say. So you may have very difficult, diverse views from what the people are thinking, but the way you communicate that, the way you communicate action is an important part of the story that you're telling. If you cannot give that conscious, feel that you do have strong views, but you are emotionally centered, you can manage your emotions about this. That is important to convey in a conversation. And for that, if you don't have the training for it, please get trained, because it's important. And many times we put these trainings, behind, and we go and, I can understand you all are technical communicators. So your interest will be to enhance your technology inputs, how you can increase your interface with technology. You'll invest a lot in it. But I'm saying, please invest some time, some money in becoming more emotionally intelligent, in being able to respond and manage your emotions well, in being able to communicate what your emotion is. And like I said before I started giving my example, it's life skill. It is not only a skill to get a job. It's a skill when you are running a team of people. It's a skill about managing upward, because once you land up the job, you may have to manage your boss. You may have to manage your boss's boss. There are so many people you have to manage, all your stakeholders. So, how do you make sure that you can emotionally prepare yourself for communicating? This is an important part of preparation. And such breakdowns can happen because you're not emotionally competent. You may be intellectually competent, and technically very competent, but if you're not emotionally competent, anybody can trigger you anytime. And you land up with the consequences of that, because your response will be very impulsive. Yeah. So that's an important part. The second, the last part to this, a couple of things more, and then I'll just go to two or three things, and then I'll ask you to ask me questions. So one more thing that we must think about, yeah, is what is this organization wanting to do with me? And many times when you ask a candidate, do you have any questions? The candidate has no questions. They'll just say, no, no, we don't have. Or they will ask a um, very career related question. What is my career path for the next 2 years, or something like that? Yeah. Which according to me is a very silly question, because I believe that you can write your own career path. You will decide to do what you will decide to do when you enter an organization. And an organization can never limit you. If you learn skills, if you upgrade yourself, if you do something, then an organization automatically has to respond to you for that growth. Or if that organization is not able to respond to you, you will find a place elsewhere. It's a very simple logic that if you have learned something, if you have learned to expand to a certain degree, you're not going to restrict yourself and put yourself in the same organization. You will always be looking for growth. I mean, human beings learn and grow. This is a fundamental fact. So you can't expect that you'll do the same thing again. I know that it's there in software. I don't know if it's there in your field. That for a person to stick to a particular software to service it and not learn the next version of that software and go ahead in life, there's a certain bonus that's given, so that this person will stick to that software and not really move on, because you may have a service contract with the client or something, and you want a couple of people to stick around and service this contract, so they are paid a bonus not to learn. Otherwise you're expected to learn and grow. Yeah. Well, today you are expected to do the next best, or the next different, not next best, but the next different thing in the world. So are you doing it on a constant basis? And will you get a chance to do it should be one of your questions in the interview. Question back to the organization. Why not ask that upfront? Because that's what you are looking for, right? So some of the genuine questions that you're looking for, you should be able to ask those questions in the interview process. And if these people are not the right people, or it is not the right time to ask those questions, then you decide which is the right time in the process. Because I myself see that today, because of online interviewing, and I'm going to talk about it a little further, because of online interviewing or what, I don't know, there are multiple interviews that are happening. Multiple. Maybe it's also because you don't call the candidate face to face. So nobody is inconvenienced. So you just fix up interviews after interviews, and many people want to interview the candidate. That could be one. Or the second thing is you don't want to make a mistake. As an organization, you want to see that maximum people, interact with you before you join. And the third thing could be trust is not getting formed. Because you're not seeing a person face to face, you are actually, challenged to, you cannot feel the pulse of the person. And so you keep on, subjecting that person to maximum interviews so that the person can be, constantly communicated with to make sure you're not making a mistake, right? So, how to create trust, especially in an online scenario? How do you create trust? Through your voice, through your intentions. Because when your intention is strong, your passion, your commitment, your conversation can be very, very different from when you are dilly-dallying in your own mind. It's an important part of internal preparation that I know what I'm passionate about, that I want to communicate through my voice, through my expressions. And if it's not coming out, the other person is not able to catch it. And I would say today, funny as it may sound, I don't know how, I don't know the group. So I don't know how familiar you are with going to theater. At least everyone must have seen a movie, if not gone to theater and seen a play. That actor in a theater or in a play or in a drama or in a movie, when you see them in real life, they are not the same, right? They are doing something a little more, or sometimes dramatically more, in a situation where they are acting something out. Funnily enough, online happens to be like that. It's very crazy to bring a parallel here, So you will ask me, am I going to act out my interview? No, but I'm saying you have to make sure that the pitch of the voice, the way the thing comes out, has to be a slightly tinge more than what you do on face to face. For both, for the interviewer as well as for the interviewee. If you're a very calm person, if you're, see, many of these things have to be verbalized now because it is online. You have to verbalize it. You have to actually say that, look, now this is not only for being in an interview, it's also being a part of a team. Many times you have to verbalize, you have to tell the team, exactly, this hurt me. This email actually made a mess of my emotions. You have to say this. In a scenario where you're walking, in the corridor in an office, you can ignore the person and the person gets the message. They'll come up to you and say, hey, are you upset about the mail that I sent you? I think you just went past and all. And then you'll say, no, actually not, and all that. But then the person gets the message, the person got the message, and then, peace can prevail. This you cannot do online. So what happens is, online you have to verbalize, you have to say that, look, you put out a mail which hurt me. Let's talk about it. And this is forcing, in a way, it's forcing introverts to become extroverts. Though we are all sitting at home and we think we are introverted because of this work from home situation, we have actually had to access our extroversion skills more, because everything has to be verbalized now for people to understand. And consequently what has happened is, people at home have started to understand you better, because this much time you never spent at home, so they didn't know who you were. Fundamentally, they didn't know you were somebody who was a good machine, getting up in the morning, doing something at home, going to work, come back at home, do something, you were fine. But now the home has started seeing you as a human being. But the office, on the other hand, starts distrusting. What the hell is this person doing all the time in the house and not even answering my email? Yeah. Whereas you know that there are so many other things that you need to do, and it may be genuinely work. It may not be that you're going inside and cooking or gardening. It may actually be that you're doing some other important document. But the point is, if you don't communicate it, people don't know that you're at work. So it's opposite. Earlier, I used to teach these skills for you to be more communicative at home. Now I'm teaching this on the opposite side. To be more communicative in the office space is a very important thing. So now when you come to interviewing, the same thing. You may just sit silently in a face-to-face interview and look down or look at the person or just wait for some communication. And it will be fantastic because silence is beautiful. But in an online space, how do you use silence? How do you verbalize silence? A very important part to understand. What's being said? How to read between the lines? What is this person's need actually? When this interviewer is asking me this question, behind that question, what is that intention? What is the need? It's a very important part that you must focus. So these are some of the skills that you must develop so that you can be successful in this process. I am, done with most of the tips that I wanted to give and sharing that I wanted to do. I'll take a pause here, and ask you, what are some of the questions that are going on in your mind? And that will give me a chance to respond to you. And yeah.
So we have a couple of questions on the chat window, so I'll just read it out. So SSR asks, if we need to get into a new learning in a new place and the position demands that you have already done it, how to go about it? So I'll read it again. If we need to get into a new learning in a new place and the position demands that you already have done it, how do you deal with it?
Yeah. I would say one thing is important. You understand what they are asking. So if you need clarification about what they are asking, maybe you have done it, but in a different way. That is one possibility. That the same thing that they are asking for, maybe it was called differently in where you are working or in the experience that you have, right? So you may have done it, but in a slightly different way. So first of all, get the clarity. What is this exactly that this person is asking about? Yeah. Then the second thing is, you may not have done it, but this position requires experience in that. You, for yourself, you think, how much time will it take for you to speed up the learning and growing process? And you tell them that today I'm starting at 0, but I can reach this within the next whatever, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever it is. And my approach would be this. This is my path to learning. And this is the support I would need. And more importantly, under promise and over deliver. If you think that it is going to take you 6 months, you say 6 months. If you think it's going to take you 2 weeks, say 3 weeks and deliver within 2 weeks. But make sure that you tell the person that the skill is new to you and you're going to learn it. But you can substantiate it by saying that I have the earlier job at the earlier place where I was working. This was my process of learning a new skill. This is what I did. And this is the time that I needed to actually get that skill. So it gives them past experience is a good predictor of future performance. So once they will look at it, they'll say, okay, fantastic. This person has the capacity to learn and grow. And this person is, given the circumstance, it is a new skill, but this person is confident of picking it up. I would definitely pick that person up over somebody who's saying, I know it, and then turns up and actually is not able to do it. In fact, many organizations say, we will skill you. We just want to know how much time you need to learn. Yeah. Because every organization has a certain different way of doing things. So they like people who can come and, transform themselves quickly. So give them that assurance. That is important. But I would always go with this thing, with the same thing, that don't lie about it. If you don't know, you say you don't know. And say that you will pick it up rather than saying, I know. And then even in the interview itself, they might test you then for that skill. And then you will fall flat. So why unnecessarily do that?
Thank you. So the next question is from Divya. So she says, thank you for the seminar. Please, could you also expand on what you said earlier with respect to office environment? Being emotionally confident. If you're emotionally confident, your response won't be impulsive. So she wants a little bit more explanation around it.
I didn't say emotionally confident. I said emotionally competent. Yeah. Emotionally competent means that you are able to understand your emotions and manage them. Both of that. See, understanding and being aware. So what is emotional intelligence? If you look at it broadly, it has these four things: understanding your emotions and managing it, understanding another person's emotion and managing it. We should be able to be aware and manage. Both the things are important. So I know I am angry, but I can also manage my anger. I know I am hurt, but I can also manage my hurt. Okay. I know I am touched, but I can also manage and convert my emotion, is something that people are looking for. Because when you are applying for some of these positions, people don't want emotional, what do you call that? Atom bombs. Yeah. People are just going, as soon as they enter the organizations, like one thing is not working and then they are, So people don't want emotional time bombs in their organization. They're scared. And if you are one of them, then automatically you add to the problem, right? So demonstrating that you can be emotionally balanced is a very important skill. I don't know if I've answered you fully, but that's...
Yeah. Thank you. So the next question is from Amit. So he asks, the worst part is the salary negotiation. How do we pitch it right? I think it's probably one of the questions that's screaming in everyone's head.
And I'm the wrong person for this, as many of you who know me may know this. But the issue is, see, I truly believe that salary is not going to dictate your worth. Okay. I may sound philosophical, I may sound even spiritual. I run a very fantastic household. I have a beautiful house, I have a couple of cars, and I live in luxury. Okay. But it's not because of my salary. It's because I choose to live the way I live. And tomorrow or right now, just before a couple of years, because I didn't have to travel anywhere within Chennai, I gave up my cars also. I just sold them off because I said, I don't need it. It's a waste. So anything like this, which is around you, doesn't define you. So a salary should not define your worth. Please don't think that I'm against you getting a good salary. I know that each one of us should get, as much as we can. But the point is, does it define you? If you do the same thing for 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees or $1,000, will you do the same thing? That's the question I ask myself. It's very, very important for me that it's not, the money does not define the worth that I give. or the attention that I give to the job that I do. If I do it like that, I'm telling you, guaranteed, and this is not read from any book or any spiritual book or master or anything. This is my own experience. I'm very confident that life will give you what you need. There's enough in this world for what you need. There is not enough for your greed. You'll never be happy because every time you're saying, you know how many minutes you'll be happy with an increment? Probably 10 minutes. Because by the time you get your letter, your neighbor also gets it. Yeah. By the time you feel fully happy, wow, I've been recognized and wow, fantastic. This is so beautiful. By the time you just look at your neighbor and feel that she's or he's also happy and they also have a raise. What? Yeah. I mean, come on. I work much more than what she does. Yeah. So the happiness is gone in those 5-10 minutes. Whatever happiness is felt is gone in the next 5 minutes. So that's all there is to this. Yeah. And what guarantee that you negotiate for a salary and you get it and then you'll be happy in the job? What guarantee is there? You'll negotiate, you feel very nice, you feel fantastic, but you have to work hard to keep that going. And every day you have to work hard at it to make sure that you earn that salary. So it's not going to guarantee you that, okay, just because I got the salary that I asked for, I'm going to be happy in this job. May not be. So let me just put it straight. Salary does not define happiness. No amount of negotiation that you do is going to guarantee that you get the best salary, because you'll do a lot of negotiation thinking you have done the best negotiation in the world, and you sign up and all, and you enter the company, and then the next day you find out that the other guy got more salary than you. You say, hey, what the hell? I mean, I negotiated, I thought I was smart, but look at this. This guy got everything. So,
thank you, Sudha.
Yeah.
So we'll go to the next question here. So I have a question from Srinandan. How do we handle with our weakness? For example, if I have a stammering problem and I cannot communicate verbally, how do I deal with this?
Sorry, just say again.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. So Srinandan asks, how do we handle with our weakness? Any shortcomings that we may have? Like if I have a stammering problem, I cannot communicate verbally, how do I deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely you have to see, I'll tell you one thing. Forget stammering. I mean, there could be any other mental, emotional, or physical disability. And all of us are disabled at some point or the other in some way, right? The first thing is to be extremely comfortable with yourself about that discomfort. Every disability has the power over you only when you allow it to deter you. If you are comfortable with who you are, and I'll give you another example. It's a beautiful story. Yeah. All of you know Bruce Lee? Do you know what he's famous for? And many people say, oh, he did this, he did that. But what exactly was the reason why Bruce Lee was great? Can anyone tell? You can unmute and tell. Let me see if anyone of you knows.
Ma'am, self-discipline.
Okay. What else?
Focus.
I had a very tough childhood. I am not sure.
Tough childhood. Okay. Yeah, Amit, you were saying something else.
Ma'am, laser-like focus.
Focus. Okay. So, do you all know that he had a handicap? So Bruce Lee was a troubled, yes, he had a troubled childhood. You know why? In fact, he contemplated suicide because his right foot was shorter than his left leg. The right leg was shorter than his left leg. So he was laughed at, ridiculed in school, all kinds of problems. So when he was around 18 or something, he contemplated suicide. He said, I'm going to just give up my life. And he met his master at that time. And the master gave him only one very beautiful learning. And he said, you meditate upon this. He said, convert your biggest weakness into your biggest strength. Convert your biggest weakness into your biggest strength. And guess what? Bruce Lee's stance is what he's famous for. If you ask anybody, they will say, that chop of his with his right foot bent, and that chop, nobody could ever do like Bruce Lee, right? That was supposed to be the best, and that was supposed to be unique. He created a stance out of it. He learned his martial arts, and he created a stance out of his unique physical condition, which became so unique that anybody who tried to copy him, they couldn't, because they had both the legs in the same size and length, right? So they couldn't copy him at all, ever. So converting your biggest disadvantage to becoming your greatest asset or your own uniqueness is something you must always strive to do. If you think that this is a particular condition in my life, which is the worst condition, then convert it into your biggest advantage. And that becomes something which you are known for, you're unique for, whatever. You can actually convert your negatives into positives. So my response to this question that you are asking me is, so what if you stammer? It's up to you to create pauses which give you enough confidence to speak the next sentence. Keep your sentence short. Allow yourself the physical comfort of pausing before answering. And make sure that when you answer that particular sentence, you have no other thoughts in your mind. One of the biggest reasons for stammering is because you have a lot of thoughts going on in your mind, and you want to put out, your printer is slower, that's all. You have a desktop speed printer and you have a very fast processor. So by the time you bring out what all you're thinking, something else is coming and you're not able to keep up with the speed of your mind. So you have a strong capacity to think. So write and formulate your answers. Keep them short, keep them with the pause, allow that person to experience you and give your answers very succinctly. That's something which you can practice.
Thank you, Sudha. So next question is from Lata. Great tips. If you're unable to answer a scenario question, what is the best way to respond? I understand that we pause, think, and then respond. I think she's trying to ask if there is a scenario question, like interviewers put forth scenarios and ask your response to that situation. How would you tackle that if you have never been in that situation?
Smile and say that I've never been through this. I don't know. I don't know how I'll respond to this. I honestly have never been through a situation like this. So, and then they will say, hypothetically, if you are in that situation, what would you do? So, well, hypothetically, I would do this. You think through the answer, pause, smile, relax, give the interviewer the feel that you are thinking through that situation and then responding. It's a perfectly genuine thing, right? We have not been through all situations in our lives. So it's a genuine thing. Again, be genuine. Be genuine is what, again, the bottom line is be genuine. Saying as it is. I have not been through this situation. I mean, I may have worked with 5 subordinates and somebody is asking me, will you work with 50? I've not been through that situation. So how can I promise that I will be fantastic with 50 subordinates? Because then they'll ask me to substantiate my answer and say, what did you do in such a circumstance? And I won't have an answer. Or I'll be really hypothetically thinking through it. So might as well say in the beginning itself that I'm going to hypothetically think through the situation. This is how I deal with 5 subordinates. If given a chance that I'm going to work with 50, I may truly need to pick up some of those skills. Because I don't know. I truly don't know, right? How am I going to be a leader of 50 people? I don't know. I may have to work out the mechanics of it.
Okay. Thank you. So the next question is from Radhika. Ma'am, you had given your own example of being brutally honest with a German interviewer and being appreciated for the same. But Germans are known to be objective and being brutally honest themselves. However, my experience suggests that interviewers in India are not generally comfortable when an interviewee is brutally honest, especially when the picture painted is not exactly those. So how do we deal with this?
What's the name of the person?
Radhika.
Radhika, it's a fantastic question. I'm saying who is Radhika? That is a more important thing for me. Not whether the interviewer likes a rosy answer, a rosy scenario, presentation of a rosy picture or not. Because who is Radhika will reflect in the way you're going to work with this person, right? Once you get the job, you're supposed to work in that environment. It's not like getting the job is not the end of it. It's the beginning of the story. So if you have still got to work with these people, you might as well have an answer ready for that. And if you're not in that position, okay, and if you're not honest with it, yeah, I know organizations don't like brutally honest people and all that. But I'm not saying be hurtful. I'm saying be honest. And that's important because if I am not honest, then they may ask me to do something which I don't really like to do. And would I do it after joining? See, on the other hand, this might be the only job in your purview right now. So you may feel I must get it at any cost. Yeah. But once I get it, then I have to hang on there, right? Will I be able to? That's a question you also must ask yourself honestly. Do you want the job at any cost? That's the question I'll ask.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So next question is from Alpana. Alpana asks, if you are working on X technology and the new job requires working on Y technology, although you have learned Y technology on your own, but you don't have working experience. So how do you convince the interviewer that you know the technology, and how do you ensure that the company will hire you even though you don't have working knowledge of technology Y?
It's a very technology question. Now, I don't know. I don't know whether I am qualified to answer this question because I don't know how fast or how well you can learn this Y technology. And if you say that, look, I don't know this, but I can work with it from day after tomorrow, is that a fair enough assessment of your own skills and of how the company sees that you could be equipped? I don't know. So I think that you must consider this given your technological background, and others in the room may be more qualified to answer this than me. But I would say fair enough to anticipate, to project how much time it will require to prepare for it. If you're going to enter the job in 2 months and you have 2 months to pick up the technology and you're fairly confident that you can do it, then by all means you can say, when I join, I'll know it, and you won't be wrong. Like, you would have given yourself 2 months, maybe notice period in this company. By the time you go there, you can enroll yourself in a course and learn it and everything and prepare yourself. If that is a possibility, then by all means you can say yes and work backwards. I mean, that it's not lying, but at the same time, it's also not, it's giving yourself time to prepare. But if not, then don't. I mean, my clear thing is I would any day go for a person who can tell me directly that, look, I don't know, I'm going to prepare, I'm going to join. You tell me which are the best courses for me to join this and which will suit your company. And that person prepares, and so I'll be very happy if they are like that. But I don't know whether all organizations are like that. So I think you have to play it by the ear.
Thank you, Ms. Coach. So I have a question. I have a question myself. So the question I have is, I have two questions. So the typical questions an interviewee faces in an interview is, first question is, tell me about yourself. And the second question is, what are your weaknesses, and talk to me about that. So when you speak about yourself, what kind of profile are you expected to give? Like you have already stated in your resume what your technological strengths are, what kind of exposure you've had. So when you're going to explain the same thing again in an interview, how much should you summarize? Should you talk about your personal traits as well? And second part of my question is, when they ask you for your weaknesses, which part of your weakness should you be telling about? Your professional challenges, or your personal problems, personal challenges like time management? Which one of it would you have to say? So these two are my questions.
Let's go over this again. I got a little sidetracked because I read a response from Divya and I read response from Makarand. I got a little sidetracked because I thought that Makarand has much more knowledge than me in answering some of these questions. So maybe he should just stop. But apart from that, I thought also Divya gave a very nice answer to the technology related thing. So I got a little sidetracked. But I do have a response to what you were asking. So please ask me again. I'm sorry.
No problem. Yeah. So my question was, there are two questions here. One is, when they ask you to talk about the first question, the first warm-up question is, tell me about yourself. So what kind of profile are you expected to give? Like, do you explain your entire experience, or do you also talk about your personality, or etc.? Second is, they ask you to give what are your challenges? Tell me about your weaknesses. So what kind of weaknesses are we expected to tell them? Like, I do not know this technology professionally, or do they expect to hear more about our personal shortcomings?
Yeah. This thing on the other side, when I train people for interviewing, I always tell them this is the worst question to ask. Tell me about yourself. Yeah. This is like such an open-ended thing. The person will say, the moment you ask me this question, if I want to take you all around the mango tree, I'll say very nicely, I'll start from, I was born in, Chidambaram, and then, I grew up in Pune, and blah, blah, blah. I can take you right round for the next 30 minutes, which means you will have no chance to ask me a question after that, right? And I can completely take you on a trip. So this is a very tricky question, and interviewers shouldn't be asking this question, first of all. But anyway, given the fact that interviewers do ask this question, and one of the reasons why they ask this question is they probably don't go through your CV, which is a fundamental thing that they are supposed to do before sitting for an interview. And many times the HR would have given them the CV last minute, or they would have just jumped into the interview without even taking time to read your CV. So they're asking you this question. So now the best thing to do is to understand this from the interviewer's side, and then you sit down and you say, okay, now what does this person want to hear is what is going on in your mind, right? Instead of thinking about it, you just ask. So where would you like me to begin? Do you want me to know about my last role experience? Do you want me to know about my, study, my journey, my career, the entire, years of experience that I have? What is it that you would specifically like to know? Is a good question to ask back to the interviewer. Because tell me about yourself is a very, very umbrella question. And you can truly start from, I mean, I have had a range of candidates asking from, when you ask this question, you can say, I was born here, I have 2 siblings, I am the oldest child, my parents are divorced, my father lives in America, my mother lives in London, and my husband lives in Spain, and I'm living here, and I'm really struggling. I can go anywhere, the entire spectrum of availability is there for me to go into my story. Now, one you want to tell, which story you want to tell is not important. Which story the person wants to hear is important. So from your side, you ask back that question. What would you like to hear? You want me to talk about my work experience, my last job, my current profile? What is it that you would like to hear? Yeah. So once you are clear, then you can go into details about that. That is the first part of your question. The second, when people are asking about weakness, I have a very standard, beautiful response from candidates, which is very interesting. They will make the weakness look like a strength, which is so irritating, because, I work so hard, that's my weakness. Or I never take a break. In my last job, last 5 years, I've been, without a break. I've never even encashed my leave travel kind of thing. I work so hard. Now, you're not a good candidate for me, which means that you're going to make your team also work hard, which means I'll have burnouts at the end of the thing. And end of the year, I'll have to pay health compensation for all of you. So I'm sorry, I won't recruit you. I won't think it is a great thing at all. But you would have put it to me thinking that you have put your weakness as a strength to me. Don't do this. Yeah, it's not required. If you truly have a weakness, then you have to say, and you have to also give an idea of how you overcome those moments. I have challenging moments with anger. Earlier, my response time was, I won't forgive this guy for the rest of my life. Now my response time is about 15 minutes. I can pick up the phone and say, yeah, boss, chhod do. Let us go ahead, So now my response time is 15 minutes. Earlier, I wouldn't forgive the person for life. This is the journey I've been through with anger. Say, what is wrong in giving your challenge and also saying that I have been a recompense. I have created my own compensation. I have learned, I have gone through a journey where I have been working on these things. There's nothing wrong in it. But do you authentically feel you can stand up for what you have done and what changes you have made? It's fine. But you can't go ahead and, my biggest weakness is when I get angry, I murder people. Now that's a scare. Okay. Obviously, I'm not employ you if you say that. But the point is, can I understand you? That is why I'm asking that question. Can I understand you? So, for example, I ask a question. What will make you leave this company? At a point when you're doing very well in this company, what will make you, what will put you off in this organization? And then people come up genuinely with answers. If I stop learning, and believe me, I can vouch for this. Nobody says, if you give me a lesser salary. They say, if you don't live up to your values, if I see the leaders behaving differently from what they preach, if they don't walk the talk, if they haul me up in public, if they insult me in front of my team, all these answers I've received. But nobody has said, if you give me a different salary than what I have today, or if you give me less increment or something, I'll quit. Nobody says that. And truly, genuinely, I believe that nobody will quit your job if there is less salary. I truly believe in it. But you must understand that you want to have respect. So if you get less than the market, what the market is benchmarking, obviously you will move. So if a company is paying you less than the market, they can't hope to retain you, right? And if you are qualified more than what you are getting paid for, you will move. So the company also has to be prepared for that. The organization also has to be prepared for that. And you also must do your homework enough to understand benchmarking. That is important. You should understand what is your value or worth in that vertical. That is important. But how do you pitch yourself for it? Do you go higher, lower, and all? Don't pitch yourself lower. Why should you? You shouldn't, because then you will definitely one day you will feel I'm doing much more than what this is worth. So definitely, if you underpitch, you will feel cheated. So don't do that. Yeah.
Thank you, Sudha. That was very insightful. So we don't have any more questions.
I have one question.
Yes, Reva, please go ahead.
Yeah. So normally there's a question that comes is, where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now? How do you deal with that kind of a question?
Ask everyone to go back and see 5 years back, what did they see themselves in 2020? Vision 2020. I used to conduct workshops on Vision 2020. I feel so foolish now that, what the hell, where has it gone? Yeah. So yes, I mean, of course. But what they want to know, what is the intention behind that, asking that question, is to see whether you have a life plan. Are you a person for the long game or the short game? Are you somebody who's going to be happy with what you're getting today? Or is each and every step of yours leading towards a larger life goal? Yeah, that's what I want to know. When I'm asking you a question, where do you want to be 5 or 10 years from now? The intention of that question is important. Yeah. So the intention is, do you at least foresee what kind of a person you want to be 5 to 10 years from now? Would it be, entrepreneurship? Would it, for example, I had this person who was training to be a trainer. And we asked this question. And this person said, I want to be a writer. 10 years from now, I want to be a writer. Okay. Now this person gave the interview and went away. Then this interviewer panel is talking to each other. अरे यार, वो ट्रेनर कैसे बनेगा? वो तो राइटर बनना चाहता है. मैंने बोला, आज वो ट्रेनर बनना चाहता है. 10 years later, he wants to become a writer. Today, he is a trainer. Now, what's your problem in life? I mean, let him first speak, communicate, understand people. For him, training means getting connected with many people, gathering experiences, understanding life, and then becoming a trainer 10 years later. A writer 10 years later. Now, why don't you get it? So now some of the interviewers have standard questions. They don't know what the hell they're asking. So they'll just ask. Now, that is where you need to understand what is the intention of this person asking this question, and sometimes modify your answer accordingly. I'm not saying play the person, but I'm saying understand. What does this person want to know? Probably this person wants to know that, are you committed enough to training for the next 5 years? If I take you for this job, will you be here for the next 4-5 years? Or will you put up your CV 2 years later and say, I want to be something else? Now, will I lose you? Will I spend a lot of time training you and then I lose you? See, that is the biggest concern that interviewers have. On the other side, what is the concern? The concern is, I take this guy, I put a lot of investment in this person, I train that person, and then this person disappears. Again, I'm back to square one. Again, I have to go through the recruitment process, again get another guy, again get them trained. So I feel that fatigue. As a person sitting on the other side, I feel that fatigue. So I want to know, I'm not having any altruistic reason to ask you that, are you going to be a saint or a savior after 5 to 10 years? I have no interest. All interest is, are you going to be with me for next 2 to 5 years? Yeah. And accordingly, I'll put some investment in you and train you so that you can be a good guy and have a good career in my company. That's all that's there to that intent. The intention of the interviewer is only so much. So you also have to um, put your answers accordingly.
So that sort of a thing when you're still when you have fewer years of experience, you have a sort of a career path, so to say. But after a certain point, after you gained a few years of experience, this becomes a bit of a vague area, right? I mean, there's only so much that one can grow as far as a career as a ladder is concerned. But much later, I mean, how do we deal with a situation like that? Because a 5-year time can mean, I mean, if you're already hired for a manager kind of a role in a particular organization, and there's not much more than that within that line of work that you're doing, like writing, for example. I mean, you can be a manager, you can be a head of documentation. Beyond that, what?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. So when there is a certain defined path for that career, and that's all, there is a dead stop to that. For example, in individual contributors roles, yeah, where you're not going to see, when you're at least leading a team, you can always say, I'll be heading a team of 50 people, I'll be heading a team of 100 people, I'll be working across geographies, blah, blah, blah. You can give some story. But when you are giving individual contributors as the thing, you can only talk about X amount of software that I'll be updated on, and I will do this also, I will do that also. If you're like, somebody had answered very nicely that, I think Divya, that once I'm trained in one software, I can actually pick up another software very quickly, and then I will work on 3-4 all the updates possible, and I'll really update myself. I'll be this well-known person in this particular thing. You can give any story you want. The point is, understand the intention of that question.
And if for whatever reasons, if the interviewer is mindlessly asking you the question, is it okay to ask them back as to what is the reason they have behind asking that question?
I can picture Revati asking that person, what is your life plan 5 years from now? No, you can't. You have to just smile and say, well, I still have to figure it out.
Okay. It's okay to say that.
Of course, it's okay to say that. I mean, who all have actually figured out their life? I don't think. I mean, it's perfectly fine to be, once again, honest in that and say, if you have figured it out, by all means say it. If you have not, go ahead and say that I have yet to figure out. I work on things that are tangible for me for the next couple of years. Next couple of years, I see myself to do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
After that, I don't know really, because things might change, technology might change, I might learn a new software, I might go somewhere, I don't know.
Right. And normally when they try to understand, so there's a question that some interviewers ask, what is a failure that you had in your life? How do you, I mean, what aspect of I know they're probably looking to see how you came out of it or how you bounced back, but which aspects is it okay to say in a situation like if it's a like a writer's interview? I mean, should I focus on a writing related failure or a team related failure, or can I talk about a personal episode that may have probably been a difficult situation?
See what job you're applying for, what role you're applying for. If you're applying for a leadership role, then you must give a situation where you have overcome one of the failures that you have in a leadership role. If you have, let's say you're applying for a writer's position and you have overcome some failure of one of the things that you really messed up in your first assignment, and you learned from it and you moved on in life and you incorporated those skills, and those mistakes you don't make today. I would say any such question in an interview, specifically like first or second interview or job interview for that matter, don't give very deep answers. It's not required. You don't have to go for some very deep personal failure which you have really overcome and all, unless you really genuinely feel that person is, sincere in asking this question. If they're just asking a question because they're ticking the box, then you also give a decent answer which will tick the box. because they are not interested in your life story. But if you genuinely have on the other side a person who's asking you an in-depth question, and that role demands that you be so sincere to them, and you trust that person to enough to share your personal story, then you share it. Otherwise, you don't have to. I would say that. I mean, it's unnecessarily complicating the situation for yourself.
One more thing, in situations where someone has lost their job and they're already feeling underconfident about themselves, when you're projecting yourself to the next person as in an interview, and they try to ask you about the break, voluntary or involuntary, how should one handle a question like that? And how do you also join the dots in a coherent manner, not trying to explain the break in a you don't fret about it, but you kind of give a logical answer to why there was a break and also feel confident about it?
Life has changed. Earlier, a break was a huge. I remember 20 years ago, if somebody had a break in their career, they would spend sleepless nights trying to find out answers and justify a break, right? Today, we have 10th standard and 12th standard children taking a break, saying, they are emotionally too traumatic 12th standard, so they need a break before they continue their graduation. So we have reached a very different level now in terms of understanding breaks that people have in careers. So if you truly genuinely say that, look, and I have had interviews, people said, look, my last job, I wanted to take 6 months off and go off to Spain. My boss said, you cannot take a sabbatical. So I quit my job. I went to Spain. I stayed there for this. I enjoyed myself. I learned so many things. And then I've come back now and I'm looking for a new job. So it's up to you how you're going to explain that break also. Yeah. And whether you feel confident about it, which is where you go back to my first beginning of the presentation where I said, prepare yourself internally. Ask yourself these questions because these are going to be asked anyway, right? But being apologetic about it is not going to give you the right impression. If you have figured it out, you can answer these questions better. And today, I mean, all that we are saying now is going to be dated 2 years now, 2 years from now. Because we are going to see that many people are going to just stop, at least the millennials, they are just going to stop working as such. Life is going to change drastically in the next 2-3 years, where people are just going to go on contracts. People don't want a job. People want the freedom. And if you're going to manage millennials like that, if you are now in the 30s or something, the workforce that's going to come to you is going to be millennials, and you are going to deal with them. So you will say, what the hell am I doing looking for security? And this is from my world, my age. If you see, we talked about security and jobs and everything, at the back of our mind, thinking about security. Now the world, even with you guys in the room, is different. But 10 years down the line, it's going to be very different. People are not going to look for job security and all that. They are saying, okay, this is my skill. I offer this skill. You want to take it. If you don't want, let me go. Different negotiations are going to happen very soon. And those negotiations are something you have to be prepared for as employers now on the other side. So get prepared now itself. When you are giving your interviews also, you seek opportunities rather than going with a begging bowl saying, oh, I wish I got this job. No, you look at what you want to do in the next 5 years. What is your plan? You go for those jobs, those interviews, those things that you want to do, and quickly update yourself or change your line if you see that magical, golden ceiling. If you see it, quickly update your skills, shift your line, do something different. I would say that because you need to be, above the curve.
Thank you. Thank you, Reva. Thank you, Sudha. So I have a couple of questions before I think we can jump into the mock interview rounds after that. So two questions we are constantly faced with is we attend rounds of interview and then don't hear back from the employer. So at that time, how do we follow? Because we keep the phone right next to us, hoping and for looking at the phone all the time to see whether we have missed any calls. So how do we deal with that situation? Second is, as an interviewer, what kind of non-verbal cues do you look at from an interviewee? Like, how do you know the person is nervous or overconfident? What kind of cues do you look for?
As an interviewer, I'll come to your phone question a little later, and because it has a recency effect. So as an interviewer, I know immediately that the candidate is nervous. It's bound to happen that when they're sitting in front of a person. See what's at stake. The question is what's at stake. If this person is coming for the interview and really this feels like the last resort, this is the job that I want, I've already lost my job, I need this job desperately and all that. Sorry. This makes the person very nervous. Yeah. So obviously the person is going to screw up. Now there are sadistic interviewers who will purposely put the most difficult question first and make this person even more nervous, right? But there are interviewers, and I know 80% of them, who will make you calm down. And many times I've done that. Say, take a glass of water, sit down. As an interviewer, if you are on the other side, make sure you have a glass of water on the table. It's an important part of being an interviewer. If you don't have that basic courtesy of keeping water on the table for a candidate, I think it's a wrong organization, according to me. Because they don't have that sense that there is somebody who's going to come to an interview who could be nervous, which is 50% of the time it can happen. So that is something. But as an interviewee, before you enter an interview, make sure you take 2 minutes, even though they've called your name and say, please come in and all that. Make sure you take 2 minutes, carry your water bottle with you, have some water, calm yourself down, then walk inside. This is an important part of preparing and entering an interview space. Because anyway, an interview is a judgment. Judgment is never happening. And this is called out judgment, right? You're making judgment all the time in your life. But here you're saying, I'm going to judge you. It's a declared intention of judgment. And then you call the person inside. Obviously, the person is going to be nervous. This is something which you have to understand, right? So that's definitely there. But who are the people who have overcome this and come ahead and really been able to speak their mind and everything? Where you think that in your own mind, when you're attending an interview, answer the person as if you already have the job. That's the mindset attitude that you should have. That if I have this job already, how would I approach these questions? Because that gives you kind of a reality shake. It will tell you that, look, I am sitting here in this company, in this environment, and this person is either my boss or my peer or somebody. Okay, and I'm talking to this person. First thing, it puts you in the present context as if you have the job first. So you're not selling yourself. You're actually talking. You're not marketing. The second thing is, you also know that this person tomorrow will be a peer or a supervisor to you. How should you set the relationship right at the beginning? It's important because this interview is never forgotten. Remember one thing, what you say in the interview is never forgotten by the interviewer. The interviewer always remembers because it's a part of the profiling that you do of that person. So when you're saying something, what equation are you setting with this person? I remember one of my interviews, I was in that job for 5 years and I grew tremendously in that job. My first meeting was with the CEO of that organization. And funnily enough, I didn't know he was the CEO for some reason. I was just called for the interview last minute. He happened to be traveling to Pune, and I was told, oh, so and so is in Pune. I mean, the way they called me, they made it sound as if somebody important is there in Pune, you come and meet. They never told me he was the CEO or whatever. Or they assumed that his name should have rung a bell, which it didn't for me at that time. So I just landed up. I was going to a friend's place, and instead of that, I changed course and landed up for the interview. So when I went in and they asked me, he asked me it was a 2-hour interview. I mean, no interviews today last 2 hours. But then this was a 2-hour interview. I was a mother of 3 children and I had taken a break, obviously, and I was doing my own thing. So I didn't even know, I wasn't even clear that I want a job at that moment, which is a full-time commitment with travel. And this person in 2 hours convinced me that if I take a job, and that too with their company, I would be on top of the world. He was marketing to me, then I was marketing to him, right? And the way he sold a career for me in those 2 hours, I had never thought about it in my life. First of all, I never thought it was possible with 3 children. So I thought, 2 hours later, I come out of it and call my husband and say, look, I think I want to sign up for this job. He said, what, are you nuts? I mean, how the hell are we going to manage? And it was a shock for everyone in the family that I really decided on taking up a job, which I wasn't at all thinking about. According to me, that is the power of an interview or an interviewer, yeah, where they can put dreams into your head which you never even had. And truly, that interview changed my life, right? Today, I am a high-flying consultant only because of that particular interview and that job I took later. And the way I grew in that job, every single time, I realized I was doing far more than what I was capable of, only because challenging circumstances were given to me and I was willing to take up those challenges. I never thought that I was mentally, intellectually, emotionally prepared to do all the things that I did. But somewhere the trust of the organization and this person who interviewed me, who had a certain image about myself, that image even I didn't have. That's the beauty of it. That converted the situation into a positive scenario, which completely changed the track that I do. But I also left the organization because of the same thing. Let me tell you that. Because 5 years later, I had started thinking, dreaming, and raising the bar, right, for myself. And when the organization was not growing to that speed, where my bar was increasing consistently because these guys had put that into my head, now I had outgrown the organization. Now, this is exactly why I'm telling you this is the same circumstance that we think is the best for us at a certain point might stop challenging us after those 5 years. That means you have outgrown the organization, or the organization can outgrow you. Both can happen, which means you have to quit and move. That is something which many of us don't do. And then we complain about the organization or about us. No, then if you are in that category where you start complaining or cribbing, definitely means that you have outgrown. That you must think differently about yourself, about your role. Okay. So, what are the cues that an interviewer gets? What is the cue that this interviewer got from the way I was speaking? I was giving him, according to me, I was giving him all stupid, dumb answers. He told me, you have written that your hobby is reading, which is the last book you have read. You know what I told him? I said, have 3 kids and see whether you can read in the night or what. You can't. I mean, all you want is to sleep. You don't. And under 3, I had 2 kids. So I said, under 3 years, when I have 2 kids, you think that I can read? The last sensible book must have been last 3 years back before I got the second one. After that, I just didn't read. I gave answers like this. But he understood that reading was a passion for me, writing was a passion for me. I could quote from various places just out of unconscious memory because I had absolutely no clue. I was not in touch. So when you're saying, I'm linking the two questions, you're saying you take a break, you're saying, so all these questions are linked for me in my head. How much of unconscious memory you have built? You may have taken a break, but that doesn't mean you are intellectually absent. The moment somebody asks you a question, you can trigger those memories of how you've handled situations. And if you're able to do that, people are able to catch it. People are intelligent from the other side. They know that, yes, you have taken a break, but that doesn't mean you've gone out of capacity. So that is something which you must be able to speak to about that, convey to in the interview. And what was the thing about phones? Did I answer you at all, Gayatri? Have I given you some answers or?
Yeah, yes, Sudha. Yes, you did. The second question was, after you finish attending all rounds of interview, you've had your HR interview, or had all rounds of interview, and you expect to hear from them. Either it's a yes or a no, but you want to know, you want to bring it to a closure, and you have not heard back from them. How do you, either they are actually still weighing other candidates, or probably they have decided not to go with you. How do you call them and follow up?
See, one of the things that is important to understand is, does this organization require following up? Some people like, one second now, just one second. Some organizations want you to follow up. So they will say that, call me after a few days, or you will get from their body language that you want. They will give brownie points for you to call up and ask and all that. But some organizations, they hate it when you follow up. So they will say, thanks. They will say, don't call us, we'll call you. Yeah. Now, you remember one thing. Selling, I don't know how many of you are exposed to selling skills. Yeah. One of the important things in selling is keep a door open at the end of a contact with a customer. You always say that I'll call you back on so and so date, or please let me know, when to call you, or I'll write down a date by which I can get back to you. Somewhere you have to judge whether these people are going to be committed to giving you an answer. Unfortunately, it's not even like a product. This human resource is such a funny game. Yeah. You don't know the why they're interviewing you. Yeah. They may just interview you so that you can be kept as a standby. They may interview you because they're desperately looking for somebody to join. There are projects pending and somebody has quit, so they need you to kind of come on board day after tomorrow. That's the urgency. This you have to learn to judge. If that urgency is there, then they are going to take you on anyway. That's not a problem at all. But if they're just interviewing for the heck of interviewing, then you don't bring your self-confidence down. You just understand in that interview itself that they're not going to call you back immediately. But nevertheless, leave in a certain way where the person wants to call you back. Like I said in my story about this person recruiting me with a certain image, the person created a position for me. There was no position in that organization. And that's how my career was in that organization for 5 years. Every single position was created for me because I was showing something which they were not able to envisage as a company. So the moment I showed that talent, they created a position. This can happen in an interviewer's mind, especially if they are the CEO of a company or it is a startup or something. They can create a position for you because they need you in the company. They like your attitude. They like the way you will do the thing. So they'll create a position even though that position is not existing in the company. That is something which you have the power to do if you have a uniqueness, and if you have chosen that company and you're saying, I want to be a part of this, whether it's a startup or a very big company, I want to be a part of this setup somehow. So I'll create a position for myself. Do you really want it bad enough that you will create that? That also is important, because then people see that passion and they say, look, let's give them a chance. So what kind of method you're using to convince the person that truly you're interested in what you're doing and you're passionate about that, and you truly will go that extra mile to do and deliver what you will deliver? Is that being seen in the interview is a very important question to ask.
Okay, understood. Thank you, Sudhaji, for that. So do we have time for a mock interview session? Because I think that would probably add a little bit more insight. I think probably we can
Gayatri can take an interview of Revati, and I can give you expert comments. Or
anyone else. I think I've been talking a bit too much than required. So any volunteers for a quick round of mock interview here? Or
hey Gayatri, this is Lata.
hi, Lata.
I'd like to volunteer for being an interviewee.
Interviewee, okay. So Reva, do you like to be an interviewer?
No, catch somebody else.
Okay, so let me just do a quick draw here. Sangeeta, what about you? Sangeeta Kataria.
Hey, hi Gayatri. Okay, okay. How much? I can give it a shot. Yeah. How much time do we have?
Probably 5 minutes.
Okay, and what's the position that we're interviewing for?
You can create a position.
Okay.
lead writer, maybe.
Let's ask the interviewee. Latika, what's her name? Lata, right?
Yes.
Lata. Okay. Yeah. Hi, Lata. Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Yeah. So what position should we do the interview for?
I'm okay with any position actually.
What are you aspiring for?
I'm aspiring to be part of your organization.
In what role?
In the role of writer.
Okay. All right. Okay. So Gayatri, we'll start. Is it?
Yes, Sangeeta.
Just one thing. Would you want to turn the video on? Will that kind of also set the online interview thing?
I'm in a very casual attire, so
that's okay.
I think
no, don't worry about
okay,
that. The point is because
you
you are looking at each other's faces and trying to understand certain non-verbal communication through that.
Yeah. Just give me a second.
Yeah, same here. I'm like also in the kitchen types.
No, too casual and attire.
Don't worry. I don't worry.
We can go ahead with what we have. We can do what we have.
So let me turn on my video.
Hi, Lata. Not bad like what you projected.
No, it's all because I'm sitting in my room. So, I mean, not the right kind of, not a conducive environment for a video.
Yeah. No same here, yeah, same here. Okay. 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 All right, yeah. So, hi, Lata. Hi. Hi, I'm Sangeeta Kataria. We basically, I'm the hiring manager for this particular role that you looking for. And I hope you had a safe travel, or you're in a comfortable position to take the interview.
Yeah, Sangeeta, please. I'm glad that you called me for this interview. Okay. And since this is a virtual interview, I mean, we would like to get to know each other very soon.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So can we get started? Could you tell us, tell me something about specifically about your, your job journey? Like, how did you start working and, your transition through each job? Yeah.
Sure, Sangeeta. I'm I'm an applied physics postgraduate. I was very keen on pursuing research. I got through my CSIR fellowship and started pursuing research in a nuclear power station. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, I had to give up my research and turn towards a different point in my career. So I started programming and became a programmer. And post that, now what job, what I was doing, I learned that my manager identified that I was quite strong at writing, and he encouraged me to um take up the technical writing course and become a technical writer. So uh, I was quite interested in learning technology and being up to date with it. Was I joined as a programmer. So that's when my career drifted from being a researcher to a technical writer, and I'm quite happy that I took up this career because one, it gives me an opportunity to interact with multiple people, understand the product or the technology on its whole, and it gives me insights into different uh, perspectives on being a human being, on how to handle challenging situations. And I see a lot of good things in this career. So that's my transition. So now I'm a writer with 8 years of experience. I work with great organizations like HCL, Xerox Services. So now currently I'm employed with a startup company called Alation. It's a data cataloging company, and I'm quite happy to work here. So this has been my career journey till now.
All right, yeah. And any specific reason why you are looking for a change?
I'd like to learn few more technologies that I've been aspiring to work on, and your company currently gives me that opportunity to look into new things, research a little more, and I'm more passionate about researching and work on new technologies. So basically, I went through your company profile, and I'm really happy that uh, I'll be able to, pitch in my best for this job. And the research experience which I've had also will help me deliver my optimal quality at this organization. And both of us will help each other grow.
Thank you,
So
Lata.
this is
Thank you,
what
Sangeeta.
I think.
All right, yes, yeah. Thank you, yeah.
Thank you both of you. It's
Yeah,
it's very kind of you to volunteer. Volunteering is the hardest part. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for switching on your videos as well. Thank you so much. So let me do a quick check on what were you able to pick up from this. So in any case, we are not focusing on the interviewer; we are focusing on the interviewee. So what were you able to gather about Lata? What were some of the things that uh, struck you about Lata? Anybody can switch on your with audio and speak. Video also if you want, but audio. What were some of the things that you picked up as Lata spoke? Yes, Sangeeta?
Okay, sorry, yeah, ma'am. I was just going to ask you that, is that a question for me or for the audience?
No, you
Okay,
can start. Yeah.
okay, sure, okay. So, okay, so in the 10 minutes conversation which I gathered with Lata, what I understood is that, she comes from a different background and she's made the move to writing. It has been a conscious decision, and she's been enjoying that work, and she wants to continue in this role and grow. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Thank you, Sangeeta. Anyone else wants to take a shot?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Vijay, and what I've noticed is Lata has a flair for technology. She's very passionate about about the technical field in general and about learning new technologies. And second thing I noticed is that she's multi-talented in the sense that she started off as a researcher, CSIR fellowship and all, but she also demonstrated the competence to be a good writer. So she has a lot of, so to say, tricks in her bag, and is someone who can be groomed further to learn anything new. And she has a potential to learn and grasp new things. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Vijay. Good observation. Any more observations from anybody?
She's quite clear in her thinking because there's no break in the way she speaks. So there's a flow, and she's clear about her. She's thinking through at the right pace, and she's able to deliver also similarly.
Okay, good observation. Any other observations?
She was not nervous and she was very confident, even though it was an impromptu role play. So that's what struck me as really good.
Yeah, good one.
Ma'am, this is Vijay again. Probably I have a few more comments also. Probably this is just to, probably also help Lata. One thing is that she said her career drifted too. So I'm not sure that is probably the language we need to use, because it shows that you're not in control of things. Second thing is, I don't know, towards the end she said she was very happy with the company. Probably no one asked her whether she was happy. So she was saying something more wherein people can read between the lines, like why is she trying to say that she's happy with her job and all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay, good observation. So I am just going a little more, say 30,000 feet, and I'm saying I'm not picking at the words and not this thing, but your observations are all very, very, very perfect. You must read a little more than that from what this situation brought to us. So if you go a little deeper, then you can understand, you can listen to Lata's values. Okay, when there came a tough situation in her life where she had to quit what she was funded for, she could have continued the research and everything, but there came a situation where she had to completely change careers, and she managed that change. And the way she has managed that change, she has made the new career very happy, appealing. Okay, so the same comment that Vijay made, I'm taking it to another level and saying she's very happy in this choice of what she is doing. Okay, that shift. Now, what does she want? She wants to learn and grow more. Okay, and she is saying that in her pitch. And I picked up that also, that she wants to try another technology, something new where she can research and she can understand something more. Yeah. So she's not saying she's unhappy with what she's doing, but she wants to grow and she wants to do something different. Maybe in the same job, maybe in another job. So that's something which she feels that she can enjoy doing. Now, if I'm an interviewer, I will also ask some more questions, what we call as the funnel. Some more questions to deepen my experience of Lata. I would have picked up these 2-3 things and I would have gone deeper in the funnel of 1 or 2 things to understand how she achieves depth, how she goes deeper in experiencing a particular technology, what are some of the things that she picks up from there, how does she learn, yeah, what is her process of learning. I would have gone anywhere from there, right? And taken that as a cue, what she has given me in this 2-3 minutes, and gone deeper and deeper in understanding. Now, if an interviewer is inexperienced, sometimes you come out of the interview feeling very bad, that I had so much to say, but this person didn't ask me anything. Yeah, you feel quite. So when I'm training interviewers, I'm always telling people to ask questions so that the person who's interviewed feels happy being interviewed. Yeah, because ultimately the person wants to communicate a lot of things, and if you have made up your mind already and the person gets no chance to speak, the person already, feels very cheated. Says, I came all the way for this interview and you only spoke to me for 10 minutes and you didn't even listen to me. Yeah. So when you're listening, you make sure that the person feels listened to and understood and happy about communicating to you. That is also very important on the other side. Now, are you going to give more information, less information? Like Sangeeta asked this question now, tell me something about your job and journey. And Lata authentically spoke about the transition. Now, if she didn't tell about the transition from research to this and actually just came to the current job and explained current profile or current technology that she was writing about and current technical papers that she was writing or something like that, we wouldn't know about some of the competencies that she has got by shifting from research to programming. We wouldn't have known, right? So how do you make your competence? Suppose Sangeeta didn't ask this question or didn't give her the opportunity to tell about this, she may have missed. And that might be probably her biggest asset, that she has shifted careers, that she has been able to pick up something. So knowing your uniqueness and being able to present it, that's why I said is an important part of this. So Lata should know and highlight that her shift of career, the way she has grown, and what she's looking for. These 3 points, if they come out in her interviewing process, somehow, whether the other person asked the question or not, but to be able to trace back to that is an important part of your conveying your intention and your competence. That is important. And then happy, unhappy part, Vijay is right. You can play it whichever way you want. It depends on the person who listens. So again, I didn't see it as a big negative. I thought, okay, she's happy, but she wants more opportunity to grow. So I saw it like that. But Vijay saw it otherwise. Like that, each one has a perspective. So perspectives can be different. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sudhaji, for that, for all the insights that you provided for the mock interview. And I think we have come to the end of the session today. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today and for making the session interactive and interesting and very, very insightful. I think we have a little bit more insight into how to handle interviews than what we were 2 hours back. And thank you very, very much, Sudhaji, for offering your time and effort and your valuable thoughts on this. And we enjoyed being in the session today. And I also want to thank TechnoRights for creating the infrastructure for today's meeting. I also want to thank the Trivandrum City Representative, Revati, for helping me organize this session today. And thank you everyone for your participation. Have a wonderful Saturday and the rest of the weekend. See you all sometime soon.
So yeah, thanks Gayatri, thanks Sudha ma'am. It was a very good session.
Sangeeta,
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone. Thank you Gayatri for organizing this so well and Preeti for the suggestion. Very important part I just wanted to share with all of you that, whatever I'm saying today, whatever I've spoken in this context is a lot about your personal development. So if you really want to develop yourself first and understand your own uniqueness, your strengths, your capacity, yeah, what do you have within you which will give you that confidence? I think you must definitely invest in doing a program for yourself first and then, attend interviews and stuff, because then that's something which is communicating and externalizing. But first, internally, you must really truly invest in knowing yourself. I think that will help you a lot. So thank you so much. Thank you for the time, and
we hope to meet you soon sometime in another session, Sudhaji. Thank you so much.
If anyone in the participants would like to get in touch with you, how should they do that?
Well, I can. Sure. Do you want me to put my email here, or you will circulate? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah, you can probably type it out here.
I think Gayatri, maybe you could consider putting the email address even in the mail that you send out.
Yeah, I can do that. I will send out another email. Yeah, the email ID is here for everyone.
Yeah, email ID is there. Please do keep in touch. If you really want any suggestions, please go ahead.
Yeah. So for personally, the biggest takeaway for me would be to approach any interviews in future as if it's not the end of my life. I think that is probably the biggest takeaway. Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for bolstering the confidence into all of our heads. Thank you very much, Sudha. Bye everyone, and you have a good weekend.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, madam.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Auntie. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Thanks, Gayatri. Thanks, Sudha.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone. Bye.
Thank you for this interactive.
Thanks, Gayatri.
Thank you, Divya.